In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, peace be upon you. I am under the impression that the government was promoting sex grooming and rape and trying to frame Muslim men. And I was watching the following documentary and noticed some peculiarities. So we were shown the image of PC Hassan, the one on the right first, who led one of the abused parents to her daughter, and the daughter was apparently found in a flat, and PC Ali informed the parent that he would take a statement the following day, but he didn't. Now, if they don't visit to take a statement, surely you contact the police and ask them what's happening, because I've had to do things like that myself. Now, apparently a number of people had complained about this PC Ali to the Independent Complaints Commission. And the narrator tells us a few months ago he died after being hit by a car. What a shame. And I can't help but think something has been hidden from us. Now, apparently in Rotherham, I believe, if I remember rightly, the police started paying this informant, who was actually himself a child rapist, and offering him a lenient sentence if he was to inform on other Pakistani men. So as part of his informing, he was asked to do other activities which involved taking under 16-year-old girls to parties where Asian men were present. And he was also told to provide and plant drugs, but apparently he turned rogue and started accusing the police of racism and basically trying to frame the Asian men. But I'm not surprised by this, as is suggested by many of my videos. Even as I was growing up, when the Asian men around me would talk about the Ottoman Empire, mainly my husband. I think my own uncles are very brainwashed by the British. But my husband, when I asked him what caused the decline of the Ottoman Empire, he said the white women. He always told me it was the white women, and not just him, other men here and there, they'll say it was the white women because the British used the white women as honey traps and spies. And so these Muslim kings and what have you were allowing these women to hear the secrets. Anyway, so this British Gog and Magog, antichristian, satanic, khanzir people, they have no qualms about using under 16 girls to achieve something, which is basically to humiliate the Pakistani Muslim society. That is what, and to divide families, because, you know, when this thing first started coming out, I was shouting at my husband. So this was causing friction within the homes of Pakistani Muslims. So the women were not trusting their own husbands. When they leave the house, what are they doing? Okay, and I've said it in another video. I'm going to say it again, and I'll say it in more detail later on. But a 12, 13-year-old Eastern European girl was visiting my husband's shop regularly before closing time, and offering to sweep up and sticking her bum out and doing her sweeping up. You know, if I popped in and she was there, I was disgusted. I was disgusted by this teenager sticking her bum out in front of my husband and other staff members there. And now I wonder, was she there to frame my husband or other staff members working there? So now I've noticed these female white reverts who lure the under 16 girls to Muslim rape gangs. And this one particular one, Shafina Ali, was mentioned. Apparently she had tried to set up a taxi firm to transport young girls. She'd tried to set up a fake rape crisis centre and a fake helpline. And apparently this white woman was highlighted in council and police strategy meetings, but the council worker that mentioned this was uncertain about what was being done with the information. So I'm thinking, if this woman was an employee of the Secret Services, she was a 007 character, then nothing would have been done, would it? Now, I've got a Sikh friend who had daughters to a Pakistani man, and one of her daughters went off the rails. I do blame it on the mum. The mum was drinking alcohol, taking drugs, going out clubbing, having random men come home during, you know, early hours. So she saw her mum and assumed that well, obviously she did this when her Pakistani husband left her for a black girl. So the daughter went off the rails, and she told my daughter that she was visiting a woman in London, and this woman would leave while there was a middle-aged man present in the house or flat, and then the middle-aged man would tell this girl to suck his penis. And when my daughter told me that, I'm really disgusted by this woman who was leaving a child in the presence of this middle-aged man. And also, why was the woman leaving this child alone with this stranger? I actually told my daughters that they weren't allowed to speak to her or befriend her because I did believe my daughters were very innocent to such seedy activities that were going on in the world, and they were under 16 as well, so I didn't want them to know or hear about disgusting things like that. So again, dealing with this female white so-called revert, which I doubt she was. She was always wearing Pakistani clothes, but you're not a revert, bitch. You're a liar, okay, and a deceiver, no doubt working for the British government. But there was something that the victim said about Shafina Ali that caught my attention. And she said, the thing is with her, she used to live in darkness, the curtains, everything, but she knew what everyone was doing outside that property without even being outside. So she was hiding away because she didn't want other people to see. You can't have some Secret Service person and people seeing what they look like. And she obviously had her other MI5, MI6 informants giving her information. Otherwise, how can you know what's going on outside if you're locking yourself up inside? And how convenient. This white woman, she apparently died in 2009, aged 51. How convenient for the sex grooming female to die. In fact, I don't believe she died at all. She was working for the Secret Services, and she is working for the Secret Services, and her grooming services are required elsewhere to frame a few more Pakistanis somewhere else. And the only photo they had for her was from the late 70s. What a shame. If we see her, we might not recognise her now, will we? Because the only photo we've got of her is from the 70s. Now, in this part of the documentary, 24 minutes 19 seconds or so, the narrator talks about some girls being told that the abusers were going to take them to a car auction. Now, apparently they were taken to a car auction, but it was after closing time. She claims it was after closing time. I'm not too sure about that because her words get a bit jumbled. The narrator's words get a bit jumbled here. And she says the girls managed to escape, in inverted commas, I've written that, and they contacted the police, but the police wouldn't pay for the train fare for the girls to return to their homes. Now, this is a further example of the stingy Gog and Magog antichristian Satanists. See, this is what white girls are used to, people not paying for them. And so when a Pakistani pays for them, they're ungrateful. The brain can't compute. They think something's wrong. Now, I'm unsure why the girls got into the car with these traffickers in the first place if they needed to run away at the end, all the way in Bristol. Now, apparently the girls maintained telephone contact with their support workers for the entire journey. And apparently the girls can't remember much of what happened on the day. Well, that sounds like MK Ultra, Gog and Magog mind control to me. Perhaps the support worker is the real handler in this situation. It all seems quite confusing. Perhaps the girls were being used to frame the men, but when they actually ended up in an auction, the framing was abandoned and nobody wanted to take responsibility for them. Now, the narrator claims the girls may have been used as a sweetener in a drugs deal. I think she's hilarious. She's been watching too many Hollywood movies and she has absolutely no evidence for what she had just stated. It's a ridiculous thing. What is a sweetener in a drugs deal? I'm trying to work that out. Is it so you're going to buy some drugs, but you don't want to pay over the odds for the drugs, so you're going to take a few titless young girls to be raped so that you don't have to pay as much. I don't know. I've never been used as a sweetener or used anyone as a sweetener. So I don't know. This is the only, and I don't really watch that many Hollywood movies. But it just does sound like something out of such a movie. Now, as I've said earlier on in the slide, a 12-year-old girl, she'd visit my husband's shop and then be sweeping up for a bar of chocolate, and I just was uncomfortable with it. I was uncomfortable with a 12-year-old around 3 or 4 middle-aged men. I don't sit right with that sort of a situation. It doesn't sit right with me. So I asked her why she was hanging around, and she told me she'd rather hang out with these men because the boys her own age kept asking her out. And I said, the fact that you're hanging out with these men, these old men, that means these old men are your boyfriends. What have you got to say about that? And then she didn't have anything to say about it. And I wanted to steer her away, but be gentle with her. So I asked her about her career aspirations, and alhamdulillah, she actually told me she wanted to be a doctor. So I said, I tell you what, visit the shop on such and such a day and time. I'll come and I'll go through some work with you, and we can, why are you going to sit in a grimy shop? We'll come and sit across the road in that cafe, have a nice cup of tea or something. I'll go through the work with you, and you'll develop. And she stopped visiting after that. So I'm not sure why she was happy to linger around middle-aged men, but when I offered her some support, she wasn't interested. So I'm sorry, God willing, I'm not going to allow any sex grooming or middle-aged men to sit around 12-year-olds while I'm there. I pray that Allah guides you, protects you, and gives you peace. I pray that Allah guides the Satanists, the antichristians, and the devil to the straight path. May the ultimate success be that all creation unite for truth and justice. I pray that Allah gives us guidance and forgiveness, and lets children be a source of peace for the parents, and let the parents be a source of peace for the children. And I pray that Allah makes me a source of peace for all, and may I achieve martyrdom defending the vulnerable. Allahu Akbar and Allah Hafiz.